Hey yogi friends, Kit Kat here. I hope you're having a fabulous day wherever you are in the world. Today's topic of discussion is to Bikrim or not to Bikrim. So there's been a lot of negative press about Bikrim. So do we love him or do we hate him? Well, I actually don't know the man. So what can I say? I don't know the man. However, I can say that I, for one, loved that practice. And if it wasn't for Bikram yoga, I certainly wouldn't have a career or the career or life in yoga that I have today. So let's look at a practice. Sweating balls, and I really love it when they open the doors and all the fresh air comes in. Just seen a time lapse of Bikram 60, which is the shortened version of the original 90-minute series. So when you go into the Bikram torture chamber, which is a 40-degree room, I mean it's stinking hot in there, and you pack in as many bodies as you can. Sometimes there was only literally 5 centimeters between you and your neighbor's mat. So certainly jammed everyone in there for practice, and it was extremely disciplined. And coming from a sports background, I for one really loved the aspect of the discipline of moving through that set series of asana or postures or shapes, and it started out with ujjayi breath or a pranayama, moved through 26 postures which you repeat each side. And then you have a little bit of a break in the middle from the standing series. You go to the floor, and then you finish your practice with a couple of Kapalabhati or skull shining breaths, so another pranayama practice. And even from that perspective, there aren't too many practitioners or teachers today that actually start a class with a pranayama or breathing exercise, move through a practice, and then end with a pranayama and move into the meditation. So Bikram certainly provided space for shavasana at the end of class, and certainly encouraged everyone to shavasana at the end of class, but meditation, the practice itself was described by him as a moving meditation. So when you're in that class and you're in that hot room and you've got all those other sweaty bodies around you, the teacher that's leading the practice doesn't actually demonstrate the practice. What they do is they run through what's known as the Bikram dialogue, and they talk and guide you through that practice. So what that does, amazingly enough, is actually encourages you to have your own experience within the dialogue. And I think sometimes about Lokah, Samastah, Sukino, Bhavantu, may all beings be happy and free. May I contribute in some way to that happiness and freedom. Now that is such a beautiful Sanskrit prayer, and I reflect on it often, particularly in these super divisive times right now. May all beings be happy and free. May I contribute in some small way to their happiness and freedom. Everyone's definition or interpretation of happiness and freedom is going to be different, and that is as it is in that Bikram series as well. Everyone's interpretation is slightly different. How's my body feeling today? Where's my flexibility? How juicy are my muscles and ligaments feeling, or my joints? How far do I think I can travel in the 30 seconds to 1 minute that I'm going to hold this shape? Am I focused on this moving meditation? Am I breathing my way through the practice? So there's some really, really beautiful aspects to the practice. When you enter the Bikram torture chamber, you are lying down on your back with your head towards the front of the class. So for me, someone who's lived in Asia and different parts of Asia, Southeast Asia, for long periods of time, and I live in Bali right now, which I super duper love, I have always had the experience shared with me that you don't point your feet towards an altar or a teacher or a religious, any religious element or an elder. And there's aspects of cultural respect, and if I reflect on it from a Balinese cultural perspective, you would say that that below the earthly plane is hell, and so the feet are closer to that version of hell, so there you wouldn't put your feet straight out to somebody else. And out of respect to the guru, the crown chakra, so the crown of the head, is always bowed down to the guru, and particularly if you've got an altar or somewhere where offerings are made prior to practice and post practice. It's such a beautiful part of that history and culture and practice to be engaged in. And that was one of the things that I acknowledged when I first started out in that Bikram class. So, you know, there's been a lot of discussion around whether you know, opening that door for Bikram and bringing it to the West, is it cultural appropriation? Have we lost the roots of yoga? Were they diluted by this man that just came here and came to the West and brought his ego, and you know, and really set it up as an athletic, competitive practice? And you know, in aspects of that, quite possibly yes, but do things over time change and evolve and come full circle? They certainly do. So I don't think of it as cultural appropriation. I think of it as an opportunity for people to become engaged in a practice in yoga, not going to yoga so much and doing the yoga, but actually living a life in yoga. So we do the asana, but we live a life in yoga. And so making that choice, once you've had the opportunity to move past that physical practice or that plane of the physicality of the yoga, then you can open that door as you're in that moving meditation to explore some of the other aspects and the other 8 limbs of the practice. Because the more time you spend on that mat in that moving meditation, the more likely you are to go on a journey of self-discovery or self-inquiry. So even if you said that, you know, only 4 or 5 people out of 10 that, you know, attended a Bikram class actually went on that spiritual journey, is that not a good thing? I think that's a bloody fantastic thing. Like, he's opened the door that just wouldn't have been opened for so many of us previously. And for that, I reckon that we can be very, very grateful. So that is my take on the Bikram series. I still occasionally practice here in Bali that 26 postures, usually attending a Bikram 60, and I do combine that with a meditation practice, and I'm certainly very grateful for the pranayama at the beginning and the end of class, and the opportunity to explore that aspect of breath work, which is such a big part of my personal practice today. And certainly as I teach breathe, bend and sit, I engage in that process of breath work, pranayama, breathing, that breath awareness, that connection to breath and understanding of the breath journey through the body. And then the bend aspect, where we're actually making those shapes and finding that connection of body to breath and allowing ourselves to find stila sukhanasana or steadiness and ease in that space, so that we can then move into, we can free the things that are binding us in the physical body, so that we can sit for longer periods of time in our meditation practice, which is the essence of why we practice. And if I had to look at the one negative aspect, I guess, of the Bikram practice, was that there was no discussion of any of the philosophical side of yoga, and certainly no introduction to meditation as that space that we come to post-practice, where we sit in quiet contemplation. He certainly gave us room for Shavasana at the end of the class, which was awesome. But yeah, that balance between the philosophical aspects of the practice and versus the physical aspect. The physical aspect was definitely covered, but you know, again, just tracking back saying that, well, if you had to open the door, he certainly, you know, left that door slightly ajar so that you could go on your own personal journey of exploration. Anyway, I would love to hear your comments below. If you super enjoyed this little chat, I would love to hear what you've got to say, your thoughts about Bikram practice or Bikram class, or the man himself indeed, if you have had the opportunity to practice directly with him. Hit like and subscribe. You can turn it on for notifications and see when my next tutorial is up and about. And I hope to see you soon. Peace, love, and mung beans. Breathe, bend, and sit. And I'll see you on the next video. Namaste.